There are currently 3.5 million Americans facing eviction. In the previous stimulus package, $46 billion was approved to help Americans pay their rent. After 7 months, only 11% of that money has been given out. I'm going to provide you with a status update on student loan cancellation. Most recent polls show that President Biden's approval rating has been plummeting. It's more than just Afghanistan, and we'll go over what's going on. Our government is giving contradicting information on how many US citizens are stuck in Afghanistan. I'll let you know what they're saying. America is now running military operations to go beyond the perimeter to rescue US citizens. 2 congressmen from the House of Representatives secretly flew to Afghanistan, and I hope you're having a very nice day. The Center on Budget and Policy reports that 11.4 million American adults are currently behind on rent. The US Census Bureau reports that 3.5 million Americans are facing eviction in the next 2 months. The CDC extended the eviction protection until October 3rd. President Biden admitted that the extension of the CDC eviction protection will most likely face legal challenges. The Supreme Court is expected to issue their ruling on the CDC eviction protection any day now. In the stimulus packages, $46 billion was approved to help Americans pay their rent. On Wednesday, the Treasury Department said that after 7 months, only 11% of that money has been given out. 16 states have given out less than 5% of their allocated funds. 9 states have given out less than 3% of their allocated funds. The National Apartment Association said the rental assistance rollout has been a disaster, filled with inefficiencies and difficulties. The program is running so badly that on Wednesday, the Treasury Department modified the application process to make it easier for people to receive the money. When submitting your paperwork on the application, you are now allowed to self-certify your documents. This means that many of your documents will be based on the honor system. The White House said these policies are meant to accelerate assistance to thousands of applicants who are in the pipeline. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the comments, because that helps me see which topics that you want to see covered. I'm getting a lot of comments and requests about student loan cancellation. Senator Bernie Sanders, who's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, says that the Human Infrastructure Bill is the best way to cancel student loan debt. This is because if the Democrats unify, they can cancel student loan debt in the Human Infrastructure Bill without a single Republican vote. However, student loan cancellation has been left out of the Human Infrastructure Bill. This is surprising because the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, has said multiple times that he wants to cancel $50,000 of student loan debt from every borrower. This is not a lower-level politician. Senator Chuck Schumer is the Senate Majority Leader. He's the leader of the Senate. Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been pushing for $50,000 of student loan cancellation, but it is not in the bill. And this is not a small issue. 45 million Americans have student loan debt totaling $1.7 trillion. If student loan cancellation does not end up in the Human Infrastructure Bill, the only remaining option to cancel student loan debt would be with an executive order by the president. But Education Secretary Miguel Cardona is still not responding to President Biden's request to investigate if the president has the legal authority to cancel student loan debt with an executive order. It's been 5 months now since President Biden asked Cardona to write him the memo. But Cardona said last week, the memo is a work in progress and they're still having those discussions. In political news, President Biden's poll numbers have been plummeting. President Biden's job approval rating was 54% in May. It fell to 51% in July. It has now fallen to 47%. An NBC poll says that Biden's approval rating on how he's handling the situation fell from 69% in April to 53% in August, which is a 16% drop. Biden's approval rating on how he's handling the economy fell from 52% in April to 47%. Biden's approval rating on how he's handling the Afghanistan situation is at 25%. When it comes to Afghanistan, the majority of Americans wanted our troops to come back home. So leaving Afghanistan, that was not the issue. Americans are upset with Biden's exit strategy. Critics are saying you're supposed to evacuate your citizens first, and then Afghan wartime helpers, and then your military equipment, and then your soldiers last. However, President Biden decided to evacuate the soldiers first. Biden's exit strategy left thousands of US citizens stranded in Afghanistan, and America left behind $80 billion worth of military equipment, which includes warplanes, Black Hawk helicopters, Humvees, drones, heavy artillery, weapons, ammunition, body armor, and even night vision goggles. With Biden's approval rating dropping rapidly, this is jeopardizing the Democrats' majority in Congress. The midterms are coming up next year in 2022. Even before Afghanistan, and even before the rise in cases, the Democrats are expected to lose their majority in Congress next year. Now, the probability of the Democrats retaining control of Congress is looking more unlikely. There are 435 politicians in the House of Representatives, and the Democrats only have a 7-seat advantage. The Democrats are hoping that the 2 infrastructure bills will boost President Biden's approval rating to help the Democrats stay in power. In international news, when it comes to Afghanistan, we're getting more contradicting information from our governments. US officials said there were 10 to 15,000 US citizens in Afghanistan when the evacuation started. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said there's roughly 500 Americans remaining in Afghanistan who want to be evacuated. The State Department said on Wednesday, which is the same day, there are 4,100 US citizens remaining in Afghanistan that want to be evacuated. So I want to bring this issue up. A lot of people are asking, what are these US citizens, these US civilians, even doing in Afghanistan in the first place, and why can't they just get to the airport by the August 31st deadline? So honestly, that's a very good question, and I want to clarify the situation. So imagine that you're a US citizen and you're a civilian contractor working for the US government. You take a job to help the Afghan people with farming operations. So this is just one example. So you take a job in farming operations, which is a noble cause, helping the people. You take the job and it's 100 miles away from the airport. So if you take a temporary gig, you're most likely not gonna buy a car in Afghanistan. So you're stuck 100 miles from the airport, public transportation is not working, the country is in chaos. If you do find transportation, you're gonna get stopped at every checkpoint by mobs of Taliban that have AK-47s that don't really like you. So what do you do in that situation? You're stuck. And now your government is saying that you're gonna be abandoned if you don't get to the airport by August 31st. So this is a bad situation. So what I'm about to say, it's not a secret, so I'm not alerting the Taliban. US officials are now saying that the CIA is now conducting covert operations to rescue Americans who are stuck in Afghanistan. US soldiers and military helicopters are being deployed to rescue as many stranded Americans as possible. 2 congressmen from the House of Representatives secretly flew to Afghanistan. They wanted to see the situation with their own eyes. These 2 congressmen were Seth Moulton and Peter Meyer. Both are veterans that served in Iraq. After witnessing the situation, Congressman Seth Moulton, who is a Democrat, said, "Washington should be ashamed. After talking with the commanders on the ground and seeing the situation here, it is obvious that because we started the evacuation so late, no matter what we do, we won't get everyone out on time, even by September 11th. In current events, US officials reported that 25% of cases in Los Angeles County occurred in fully people. The new data shows of 43,000 reported infections, 10,895 of those people were fully. Federal regulators are expected to approve a booster shot for 6 months after your last dose. They were previously estimating 8 months. America has purchased over 1 billion doses from Pfizer and Moderna, so America will not have a supply shortage. Currently, 52% of the US population, or 171 million Americans, are now fully. 61% of the US population, or 202 million Americans, have received at least 1 dose of the cases have now climbed to 130,000 cases a day. And I wanted to end with this helpful advice. T-Mobile had a data breach, and 40 million of their former customers, current customers, and prospective customers have been compromised. Social security numbers, names, driver's license information, dates of birth have been selling on the black markets. Please check if you've been a victim of fraud by looking at your credit reports. Under federal law, because of regulations, you can check your report for free each week until April 20th of 2022. The 3 main credit bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. If you see any signs of fraud, please report it to the credit bureau. That's the news for today. If you enjoyed today's report, please be sure to subscribe. I thank you for your support, and I wish you a very nice day.